Hello, my name is Jullien Gordon, and I am author of Rich and Righteous, Spiritual Secrets of Mastering Money, Manifestation in Your Mind. And we are going to begin reading Rich and Righteous as a collective once again. And I wanted to give you a sample or example of what you're going to experience when we are reading Rich and Righteous every single day for 100 days straight to reprogram your mind for more wealth, abundance, and money. Today, we are actually going to be reading pages 48 through 52, and it is the real reason why you may not be wealthy yet. We did read Rich and Righteous last November, and it was absolutely amazing. We had hundreds and hundreds of people showing up every single day to actually go through this process. We went through the entire book by reading 3 to 5 pages per day. And the reason we have to do this consistently, the reason why this isn't some quick fix, is because if you are 30 years old, you've literally been on earth for 10,950 days. And all I'm asking for is 100 days to deprogram all the negative programming that has actually resulted in the financial situation you may be in today. Now, your financial situation may be decent, but guess what? There's even more. There's way more possibility than you can even imagine. So this is really about you getting to your next level, whatever that means for you. So with that, we're going to read together. And this is different than just listening to the audiobook because I'm going to delve deeper into the concept. We're going to have conversation. We're going to have back and forth. We're going to have engagement in the chat, and we're going to do it as a community. I teach people how to start their own mastermind groups around the book, but this is one that I do with us as a collective. And it was so inspiring last time that I decided to do it again. And so we will be meeting at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day, Monday through Saturday, starting September 2nd with our kickoff, where we'll go through the introduction of the book together. And then that Monday, we will begin our reading. So wherever you are, I encourage you to go to richrightnow.com. Again, that's richrightnow.com, and actually order the book so you have the physical copy. When you go to richrightnow.com, you will get the first 2 chapters for free simply by putting in your name and email address. That is a chapter on what is money and abundance is your birthright. But after that, if you want to follow along with us page for page, then I encourage you to get the book now so that it can be in your hands before we start reading the first week of September. All right. So with that, we are going to be reading right now, page 48. The real reason you may not be wealthy yet. The real reason you may not be wealthy yet. Lot says to the angels, I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me and I'll die. Look, here's a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared. Genesis 19:19 through 20. I start every chapter off with a scripture that I then decode the financial message in that scripture. You do not have to be Christian or have any particular religious ideology to benefit from this. You know, many books just have quotes. For me, I choose to pull from the Bible. The main reason you may not be wealthy yet is your limiting thinking about what is possible in your life. You've settled in your mind, and likewise, your money has settled at a certain level that you are comfortable with, but not necessarily happy with. We aren't born with limiting beliefs. Most people's world starts big and then it shrinks over time. You know, children have the most unbelievable mindset, right? It is pure mind. But then the indoctrination that comes from society, from school, from religion, etc., shrinks the mind in terms of what is actually possible. So most people's world starts big and then it shrinks over time. Think about the visions that you had, the ideas that you had, the things that you wanted to do when you were a child. And over time, as we got to adulthood, right, those things started changing and we started to minimize who we were in the world. This is why Jesus said, be ye childlike. One day while driving, my 5-year-old daughter asked me from her car seat, Daddy, why don't we have $50 million? At first, I was defensive. I was about to snatch this little girl. At first, I was defensive. And I was prepared to give her a monologue about how ungrateful she was for what we do have. We are well off. But after I paused, I had to answer my own limiting thinking. $50 million is more of a possibility to a 5-year-old who knows very little about life and business, yet than it is to an adult with a ton of education and experiences. wasn't even in, or just had started formal school, right? The indoctrination hadn't started yet. And so 50 million just rolled off her tongue, right? But if I asked you, do you think you can have $50 million by the end of your lifetime? Many of you would say no because of this, and this. And in some cases, many of us know too much. And this is why we have so little. Sometimes we know too much, and knowing too much can cause us to overthink and second guess ourselves. Kids think all things are possible until adults derail their dreams. All things are possible to God. True or false? Adulthood is the most dangerous neighborhood in the entire world. More dreams die there than anywhere else. You scared of the neighborhood where they got guns and drugs? Well, try adulthood. If you use excuses, your kids will use excuses too. Generational and regenerational wealth is not just money, it is a mindset. Until you accept full responsibility for who you are, where you are, and why you will never be free. You can blame your parents, racism, sexism, student debt, the banks, an education system, the government, childhood trauma, etc. You can say, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too late, I have bad credit, I need to learn more, I have a learning disorder, I come from poverty, I'm a single parent, I'm divorced, I don't make enough. For every excuse you come up with, I can find 5 people who have stepped into abundance despite the crutch you are leaning on. Pick up your mat and walk. You haven't accepted that abundance is your birthright, so you make excuses, which are X causes for why you aren't where you are. You externalize the cause instead of being the cause. Excuses or X causes are the externalizations of a cause. You are giving power to something outside of yourself to determine the direction of your life. Based on that belief, you will never have what you desire in life until someone or something outside of you changes first. That's a victim-based mindset. A child of God never plays the victim or plays small. Financially, it's time to pick up your math and walk. In scripture, there's a story of Lot and his wife fleeing Sodom and Gomorrah. In Genesis 19 through 20, Lot says to the angels, I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared. Remember that many scriptures are allegorical. Allegorically, Lot was being instructed to go up to the mountains, to higher level consciousness, which represents a higher level of thinking or consciousness above Sodom and Gomorrah, which represents lower level thinking. Sodomize, the word, means to go against nature or God. So Sodom and Gomorrah represent thinking that goes against God. Just like I told you, the word devil is the word lived backwards. So when you were living backwards, you were invoking the devil. And we personified that character as this red fiery character with a pitchfork. But the reality is that the devil is actually inside of us, or when we are out of alignment, right? We're not living in alignment with God, we're living backwards. But instead, Lot chose to go to Zoar, which means small or insignificant in Hebrew. You have to look at the Hebrew and Aramaic definitions of the words in the Bible, and it will give you more clarity about what this text is really trying to tell you. Lot felt it was safer to play small than to follow God's instructions, and we can do the same thing with money. So Lot was commanded to go to the higher mountains, which represents higher consciousness, right? When he was fleeing. And he was supposed to be fleeing Sodom and Gomorrah, which is when our nature or we are out of alignment with God. And instead, he chose to go to a place called Zoar. And just by chance, Zoar means place of smallness. And so when you are in fear and when you are running, what do? You end up playing small. Do you see the allegory? I'm not disregarding your experiences. I'm just disempowering them from dictating the direction of your life. We have the power to rise above any circumstance or condition we have been dwelling on or dwelling in. While every piece of evidence you present to make your case about why you are playing small may be 100% true, make you feel good, and let you off the hook, blaming doesn't serve you. It only enslaves you by empowering the people or condition you are blaming and thus diminishing your own power. You are a child of God, therefore, what would God, the Almighty, look like blaming the devil or anything for anything? That's blasphemy. If I'm a millionaire, there are only 3 reasons my daughter is not a millionaire yet that may also apply to you. The reason you may not be a millionaire first is you're not ready enough. She is not in my will, which means that she is not ready to handle what I have to give to her. She is not operating in alignment with how I, the father, taught her or want the money in my control to be used. She is still my daughter and I still love her. That will never change. But I may allow someone else to serve as my trustee while making sure she is still provided for. When we are in alignment with God, which I define as righteousness, we are in the will, and all things whatsoever the mother father have are ours too. She may think she can handle having a dog or a car or a party, but her maturity level and decision making haven't shown it yet. God is faithful and he will not let you be tested beyond your strength. 1 Corinthians 10:13. On top of that, if you got everything you wanted at once, would you be able to handle it? If you got everything you wanted today, then what? Enjoy the process of becoming and it coming. Many of you are not prepared to even receive that which you were praying for. So once you make the prayer, you actually have to get ready to receive it. There's the ask and then there's the receiving. Ask and ye shall receive, but it's really ask, get ready, and receive. You want to ask, not change anything about who you are and how you're showing up, and still receive. You cannot get something new from the same level. You have to elevate. You have to get ready. She has been asking for a dog. But if she can't even take care of her bedroom, why would I add on, as her father, why would I add on something else when she hasn't been able to take care of that which she is responsible for right now? The same is true for many of you with money. You aren't even being good stewards or responsible for what God has already given you. And so therefore, why would God give you more? Number 2, not receiving enough. She is not aware of what her father has for her. The most my daughter has dared to ask out of her innocent 5-year-old mind or her humbleness is for a bike for her birthday. The bike was a big deal for her and she was overjoyed. But the idea of a bike was probably planted by seeing her friends with the bike or seeing a commercial about a bike. She assumed that this is what the extent of what a parent could give. In the same way, God tends to only give to us according to the size of our ask. Ask and ye shall receive. There is no limitation on the asking or receiving except our belief about what we think God is capable of giving us. When you know who you belong to, you also know what belongs to you. The third reason you may not be a millionaire yet, not reason enough. She doesn't need it. She doesn't need to be a millionaire. As we become more mature, we can discern needs versus wants. Our wants tend to get us in the most trouble financially, especially when we mistake them as needs. In commandment number 9, we will explore needs versus wants. The best way to distinguish a need from a want is to ask yourself, what would having this allow me to do that I can't do right now without it? If you want something and it comes into your life and it doesn't actually change what you were trying to do or accomplish, then you actually don't need it. It is a need if it allows you to be more, do more, and have more good and more God. In the same way that some parents give their kids an allowance, God gives you an allowance that allows you to do more than you currently can. For a kid, an allowance may allow them to get a car, get to work, get to sports practice, get their own food, or get their own clothes. As a child of God, we ask for more money, but when we ask ourselves, what would having more money allow me to do that I can't do right now without it? Our inner response is shaky. Beyond meeting our immediate needs and those of your immediate family, how would $1,000,000 allow you to do more good for God's children? You want $1,000,000, but you don't really need it. You don't have a vision big enough where you having $1,000,000 is a requirement or a result. And that is precisely why you don't have it yet. You see, when I created the multifamily movement, I had a vision of helping 300 people close on their first multifamily home. And when I held that vision long enough, and God believed, and I believed, Because God is always believing. When I saw myself as God saw me as the person to execute on this vision, helping 300 people reach and acquire their first multifamily home, it was not only going to require me to have $1 million to do it in terms of team, in terms of advertising, in terms of branding, in terms of time, systems, technology, etc. But that vision also, as default, required or resulted, in me also having $1 million because I helped so many people. So right now, your vision doesn't go beyond you or your immediate family. If you got everything on your vision board right now, it still wouldn't be $1 million. So you don't have a vision big enough where you having $1 million is a requirement in order to fulfill that vision, or a result because you fulfilled that vision. And that is precisely why you don't have $1 million yet. You might pay off some student loans, some car debt, etc., and you might spend $200,000, and then there's 800,000 sitting. God doesn't want energy to sit. We know that this is stored energy. He doesn't want to just give you money for your own financial security. What you call financial security is really a demonstration of financial insecurity, because you are saying that you don't know what to do with that money beyond put it in a bank account where it is losing value due to inflation. If you don't believe that abundance is your birthright, it is because of your personal religion. I know the world has these major religions, but guess what? Everybody has their own relationship, their own religion, which is your unique set of beliefs about God and who God is to you and in you. You could be sitting in the pew next to somebody on Sunday, but guess what? Even though you're in the same church, you're in the same denomination, you both have different religions because you both have different beliefs about who God is for you, in you, and around you. Your wealth has nothing to do with your ethnicity, gender, education, GPA, career, parents, or political party. Your mother, father, God, who art in heaven, is as rich as you imagine them to be. If you don't feel rich right now, it's because you're not ready enough, you're not receiving enough, and you don't have reason enough. Through the 10 money commandments, we will remove these blockages in hopes that to open the floodgates of financial prosperity into your life. So that concludes today's reading. The big takeaways are that adulthood is the most dangerous neighborhood in the world if you are not careful. More dreams die there than anywhere else. We aren't born with limiting beliefs. Most people's world starts big and then it shrinks due to the programming that we are deprogramming right now through this process called Read Rich and Righteous. All things are possible to God. And in many ways, children have a greater imagination and it can experience more possibility than adults because we think we know everything. And in fact, we actually know too much. And then excuses are really externalization of causes. They're X causes. You're putting the cause outside of yourself instead of taking full responsibility for who you are and what you were able to do and have and be in this life. All right. Now, for those of you who got the rituals workbook, you can go complete the ready to receive exercise. This will help you strengthen your receiving muscle. I know many of you are by default givers, and it's a beautiful thing to be a giver. And I believe that God's children are by default givers. But in order to give more, we have to learn how to receive more. And so I want you to go into the rituals workbook sometime today, hopefully right now, if you have a moment, and complete the ready to receive exercise. For those of you who are in the mastermind, we will be talking about that, and you can bring your questions on Sunday and we will have some breakthroughs. I'll be coaching some of you through how to develop your receiving muscle so that you can actually give more. If you're just joining us for the first time, you can go to richrightnow.com, go to richrightnow.com, and not only get the first 2 chapters of the book for free, but you can also get 5 copies of the book plus the rituals workbook for just $100. Yes, it is $100. If you go to Amazon right now, the book, one single book alone is $100, but I'm giving you 5 plus the rituals workbook for $100. And you have to ask yourself, why $100? Isn't that? Well, you spend $100 on textbooks, you spend $100 on food that goes in you and comes out and serves you no longer. I know that this book and the wealth consciousness that is in here is actually going to create more than $100 of value in your life. It's going to create multiples of this, right? I can give you $100 right now and you would have it for a day. Teach a man, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man how to fish and he'll eat forever. I'm trying to teach you how to fish. This is what allowed me to create the abundance that I have. You've seen the manifestations in my real estate portfolio and my purpose in the multifamily movement. Once having those demonstrations, I wanted to pull back the curtain and let you know how that all came to be. This is the unseen realm. This is the mental, emotional, and spiritual realm that has allowed me to create the abundance that I have in my life. And I want to transmit that and share that with you so that you can do the exact same through the power of your mind. So go to richrightnow.com, put in your name and email address, and get the first 2 chapters for free. On the thank you page, you'll see an opportunity to actually buy the book if you haven't already bought it. If you want to join our mastermind, we meet every week and I coach people through their money blocks, go ahead and do that as well. All right. So with that, we will be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. So set your phone alarms. I look forward to seeing you. We will be reading. Actually, we'll be going into commandment number 1, which is measure. How the rich and righteous measure money and wealth, material versus spiritual wealth. There's a lot of people who have material wealth, but they're spiritually empty and bankrupt. So we want to get clear on how to measure wealth and how to define it. So that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow. So with that, I appreciate you. Please join us for Read Rich and Righteous. It's a 100-day money reprogramming process. And I do want to let you know that the videos, they will expire after 7 days. Okay, they will no longer be listed on YouTube. The reason I'm doing this is because I need you to show up. The way that this works is by you showing up consistently. This is not something where, oh, it's just going to be on YouTube. I'll watch it later and I'll binge watch it. No, you can't binge watch, right? And get your money mindset reprogrammed. We have to do it consistently over a period of time. For instance, you've been taught to drink a certain amount of water every single day. And if you haven't been drinking water for a long time, you can't just go drink a whole bunch of water and say, I caught up on my daily average. No, you have to get into the consistency and the habit. Same thing with working out. If you really want to get to your body goals, you have to do it consistently. You can't just do a whole day of working out or a whole week of working out and all of a sudden expect to have your body goals. It's about the consistency. This is how we reprogram the mind. To reprogram the subconscious mind requires repetition. And so we're going to be going over these principles in different ways throughout this process. And so this is why you have to show up every single day. So don't think that you can just go watch this later. You have to show up. All right. So with that, I will see you for Read Rich and Righteous. I hope this sample session gave you a feel for what it's going to be like. We're going to be together for 100 days. It's going to be revolutionary, transformational, and I can't wait to see you there. All right. Much love. Peace.